109. This is section 0 of the white topping project. I believe this is cell 3-50. What we have here is 7 inches of Portland cement concrete pavement placed directly on lime rock base. Now the base was part of the original pavement that was here, but the asphalt concrete excuse me, was milled off down to the base and a little bit beyond right here as part of the experiment. This is the odd numbered cell, or the odd numbered test section of the Florida DOT white topping project. In other words, this is the 19th test section. Marking for the beginning of the test section. Then looking on up, we've got some live oaks over mixed in here, along with the palm meadows and the palms and some pine. Looking back up to the north, on up there several hundred feet, maybe 1,000 feet or so, is the, actually a couple of thousand feet, is the previous test section. From the line you can see the northbound lanes, which have been milled and inlaid with reclaimed asphalt primarily. And right here we have a crossover used during construction, which is also a point at which a drain crosses both lanes. So we do have a pipe underneath this test section. I'll show where it is station-wise as I get to it during the video tour. See, we're in a right curve and we're super elevated with the surface drainage sloping off to our right outside the edge of our lane here, as we did before on this pavement. We just have the 2 lanes, then we have the turf shoulder off on the inside, and we have the same outside shoulder configuration, including the edge drain running down the edge of the pavement underneath here. Just beyond the end of this test section, we go back into asphalt concrete. This is the very first test section, or section 0, of the Florida DOT white topping project. This is a new pavement also, and therefore there's nothing to report in terms of distress, other than it's quite rough, just as before, and there will likely be some additional milling which is done on this job, or grinding I should say, in order to achieve the initial ride quality and meet the specifications for that. And this is the cross drain that I had mentioned. It's to be around 30 inches in diameter. This was here as a part of the original construction project. We'll have to avoid this during the deflection testing. However, it should not affect pavement performance because it has been here some time and has not been disturbed. This end wall was constructed as part of this project, but that should not have any effect on the performance of the pavement. On down, we're coming up on Station 1. Around Station 2 you can see where we have some places where it has been ground already. But as I mentioned before, this is part of the same project which we just did, which we had test section 124059 on. And this is over there. Here we will need to, or the DOT will need to come in and do some grinding to bring up the ride quality to the levels at which they prescribe. 50, you can see where there appeared to have been some problem in the finishing operation here. Some of the aggregate is exposed. It's tine textured, as you can see. Normally you wouldn't have any exposure of the coarse aggregate in something like that. They may have waited a little bit too long before they came on here and textured it, or it may have dried out a little bit on them. Let's stop and show something here at a ground spot. Area which has been ground already, and it cuts down into the coarse aggregate, gets through the mortar, and looking at the color, one would anticipate that we have a limestone aggregate in here used as a coarse aggregate on this concrete pavement. We may want to avoid running the Pasco by here the first time around if it comes before they are completed in doing the grinding on this, because we won't be able to really see what we have on the surface until after that is done. We'll try to coordinate that with the DOT, find out at which time they expect this to be completed, and then inform AVR on what the status of it is. Not much else to say here, so I'm just going to shut up and walk us on through. We're coming up on Station 3. Some problems in the texturing operation. You can see where some of the texturing actually was pulled out by the lines. This line you see running down here is simply a shadow from a power line that we have in some adjacent power posts. Coming up on the end of the test section. Haven't mentioned them, but we see some of the same yellow marks in here as we saw before. In this section there is quite a bit more, or there was quite a bit more problems with the texturing. And you can see that the end of the test section is in the last slab of this white topping job. See, we get into an asphalt concrete transition before it gets into the usual typical section about 100 feet down. You can tell how new this is because the traffic hasn't polished the asphalt cement off the limestone aggregate on the surface yet. And you can see that will happen because it went beyond the limit of it with the grinding operation. Section. See, we've got an asphalt concrete roadway here. I'm just going to keep going counterclockwise. Trailer park over here off to our east. Looking back up on the test section. Around there's the forested area. And we have a clearing right out here. 124109. We're on U.S. Highway 1, southbound lanes, Volusia County, Florida. This is Section 0 of the white topping project, which the Florida DOT constructed in